And one of our former students, they're getting ready to take the exam. And go all the way through the processes, get ready to take the test on Monday. And all of a sudden the system falls down. They come, give me a call. And boy, they were not happy campers on that. We're going to talk about that situation here in just a moment. In the meantime, welcome back to another episode of John the PM, where we believe that managing projects is not just a job, but a way of life. All right, so let's get back to this scenario. With our student, with our alums, we stay in touch with you throughout the entire process. So basically, we stay with you until you complete your certification journey. You complete your project, professional project, or you kick us off the boat. In either case, we stay with you. So the class ends, and it just ends. But again, we stay with you. Sometimes for a couple of years, 3 or 4 years. That's a long time, but hey, whatever it takes. Better late than never. That's kind of my attitude towards it. Well, this particular individual was getting ready, gearing up on the final throes of taking the test. Set some time away from work, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to like really do a deep dive, and then just start crushing on the setting, on Saturday, Sunday. I was like, whew, that's that's rough. But in either case, they kind of email me or text me or whatever. Well, the individual, they got up and they were going to do the online proctor test. Okay. And you know what? Something happened. I really don't know. I know the net result. The net result was that they were not able to take the test. Now, was it on the technology side? Was it on the proctor side? It doesn't really matter. And they gave me a call, email, on there and kind of describe the situation. And there's not much I can honestly do in that regard. But the analogy that I used was a place kicker being iced, football, okay, American football, terminology here. And sometimes, and I think we've all kind of seen it on the big day. They have the game that's going on and so forth, and they receive the ball and get ready, or get ready to hike the ball back, and so the place kicker can kick. And all of a sudden, the other team calls timeout. Okay, that's called icing the place kicker. Because usually a place kicker has like this set routine that they always do. They've been doing it since they're like in kindergarten. Okay, by supposedly icing them, it throws them off, and then they get a little bit shaken up, and then they won't be able to perform their duties. The more professional ones, they get used to it, and what they do is that they just simply reclock, drop it, and reclock, and go back through their routine. And that's the advice I like to offer. That's what I offer the individual. But that's also what I would offer to you. If something does happen on the test, and don't get into the blame game and all this other stuff, but for whatever reason, you have to retake it, presumably no fault of your own. Don't get shuttered. Okay, don't. Just go back into your routine and go back through the steps. Okay, it does take some discipline. Ironically, this also happened to another student um, 3 or 4 years ago. I think I had to double check on the dates. But in either case, this was a little bizarre. But what happened was when they got to the testing center was actually closed when they should be open. So again, they had spent a whole bunch of time getting ready, and boom, they couldn't. Again, kind of gave them the same advice. You just essentially been iced. Don't stop. Don't worry. Just back up and go back through your routine, okay, that you have established. Now, on a personal note, and believe it or not, I've had zero differences in results, whether an individual take the online proctor test or if they take it at a testing center. I have zero differences in results. But I prefer if you take it at a testing center. The reason why is because the systems are probably a little bit more locked down, as far as the technologies and so forth. And there's just that added comfort. The other reason too is because I think there's something about game day. You actually getting up and driving to the testing center, checking in, being all, patted down, and leaving your glasses, checking everything out, and then going into the testing center. I think there's just something about game day, and getting ready to go forward on that test. Again, that's just my own personal preference, and I've had zero differences. So here's at the end of the day. And believe it or not, it happens in real life. You get ready to do something for whatever reason, situation's out of your control, you can't go forward. You address the situation, you put yourself back into the starting point, and you go back through your disciplined routine that you have established for yourself. Don't get shaken up or anything of that nature. Easier said than done. And then just presumably move forward. Hopefully you enjoyed that. If you did, hit the like, share, subscribe button. It helps us to be a better service back to you. In the meantime, may all of your projects be highly successful.